Welcome to session 3 of the work of the Minister of Youth. In this session, I want us to take a look at something called Dunn's model of youth ministry. And in Dunn's model, he's helping us to consider all the different influences in our life and ministry, and what it is that we do in ministry, and how that is affected by so many things. As we think in terms of our philosophy of youth ministry, we want to understand that that philosophy is impacted by a number of things. And the first are our presuppositions. At the top of this model, you'll see presuppositions. And Dunn is saying that each of us come into ministry having experience in church, maybe a little, maybe none at all. We want to understand that those presuppositions about the work of the youth minister impact who we are and how we do ministry. There are a number of other things that you'll see in this model. You want to note that there are theological implications. Obviously, you've already had an assignment that is asking you to consider, is youth ministry biblical? What are the theological implications when it comes to youth ministry? And we carry those into how we view youth ministry. We also want to consider developmental issues. We understand we're working with teenagers. So they're not children, but they're not yet adults. And so what do we understand about who teenagers are developmentally? And then also related to that is socio-cultural questions. And so we think in terms of the social relationships, but also the cultural influences of the teenagers that we're ministering to. We can think in terms of general cultural influences in the United States if we're here in America, but we also want to consider the cultural influences in our own communities and towns. Then the funnel there is the side brackets are the historical implications, not only the historical implications of ministry and youth ministry, but of the church as well. So we think in terms of our own historical influences and how that plays a part of impacting our own view of youth ministry. So this is an important model to consider. There's another chart that I want us to look at, and this chart has some significant implications as we consider the type of ministry that we're going to have. Are we going to have a ministry that is more attraction-based, that we're looking to see how many, or we want to attract the most students possible? Or are we looking to have a model that is more focused on training and discipling youth? And there's this model or a chart that helps us sort of track where we are. And this model has a few axes. One is the programmatic axis, and we see that we think in terms of attraction versus training, okay? Training and retaining. So if we're high attraction, we're thinking that we want to just see how many kids we can get coming to our church or events. The lower end of that scale would say, you know, I'm not concerned about how many I have. I just want to make sure I'm genuinely training and discipling youth. On the other axis is the relational axis. Am I highly relational in my contact with students? Or and that contact is a contact that is all about friendship and making sure that a student likes me. Or am I in my interaction with, in my relationship with a student, am I not necessarily concerned about whether they like me or not, as much as I'm concerned with confronting them with the gospel, confronting them with maybe some choices that they're making that they shouldn't, confronting them on issues that you can see in that student's life that are maybe hindering their walk and their relationship with God. If we are too concerned about a student liking us, we may avoid those confrontations. On the other hand, maybe if we're only confrontational, maybe then students don't want to engage with us. We put them off in some way. So all of us fall somewhere on this spectrum, and what you want to decide is, in your youth ministry, where do I fall on that scale? Am I highly relational? Am I highly confrontational? Am I highly attractional, or am I highly discipling or training? It's an interesting thought and question that we want to add to our discussions on the discussion board. Then finally, I want to spend a couple of moments here introducing a few different youth ministry models. There's a lot of models of youth ministry that are out there, but I just want to highlight a few in this video. The first is the discipleship model. The discipleship model says that I want to structure my entire youth ministry around small group discipleship. This may happen on a Sunday morning, it may happen on a weekday night at someone's house. It doesn't necessarily matter the location, but the discipleship model says that the priority in our ministry is discipling students. The next model is the ministry team model, and this model says that what our priority is going to be is making sure that we funnel all of our students into some type of ministry, that we help them find a place of service, that we maybe ask them to volunteer and help in our media department at our church, in our youth group. Maybe we make sure that students are involved in and as ushers on Sunday mornings at church. In some way, ministry, the ministry model says we want to plug students into the ministry. We think in terms of the purpose-driven model and how it has an emphasis on the 5 purposes of the church. And the purpose-driven model does a great job of helping us to see that there are different ways in which our students interact with us and can be engaged in those 5 purposes of the church. The last model I want to highlight is the family-based youth ministry model. And this says that we want to make sure that each and every student, even if their mom or dad doesn't come, it's not a part of our church, that each and every student has an opportunity to have caring adults that pour into their lives. And so moms and dads are discipling their students, but also we're inviting those moms and dads to adopt into their family of discipleship and ministry other students. So these are a few of the models that are out there, and as we talk about youth ministry and models this semester, I want you to consider these and how maybe you and your youth ministry would reflect in some way some of the elements of these models. Well, this has been session 3, and I hope that you're continuing to engage on the discussion boards. Make sure you're up to date on all the assignments, and I'll see you next time.